Well, good evening and welcome to this Saturday's broadcast of Brothers-in-law. Those of you who are not familiar with our show, I am Corey Taylor, and my host tonight is Mr. Michael Bradley. We're both prior law enforcement officers. I was a state trooper for the great state of Virginia, and Mike is a retired police officer out of Pleasanton, California for the last 26 years. And welcome everyone, and to this our first roundtable discussion. We got a couple of great guys coming on tonight to discuss a variety of topics. Hopefully, we all get something out of this about talking about policing in our communities, as well as other issues that uh, are affecting our communities. Whether you're black, white, doesn't matter. We all got the same problems, and we're just talking or having that roundtable discussion. So welcome and join in the chat if you want to join in on the conversation. And Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, good to be back. It's going to be something a little different we're doing today.
Yeah.
This is the second time we had guests on the show. So it'd be good. Hey, welcome to the show, there, Zach. I see you.
Yeah, Zach. What's up? What's up?
We can talk about some random stuff and see what we can get into, and have at it.
Yep. All right. So without further ado, go ahead and bring in our guest tonight, Mr. Tim Williams and Mr. Edward Taylor III. Yes, Ed and I are brothers. Tim is also one of our brothers. And full disclosure, we all grew up together. We're all from Canton, Ohio. And we're going to talk about that too. What made us such great friends, right? Something that I think a lot of the youth are missing today. And what friendship really means. I owe Zach. He's like, oh, hey. And so we represent Ohio tonight, and these brothers agreed to join our show tonight and talk about these things. So we're gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about them and why they agreed to come on the show tonight. So, fellas, whichever one of y'all want to go first, have at it.
All right. Well, my name is Tim. As they told you, I grew up in Canton, Ohio with them. We've all known each other since we were probably two?
Toddler.
Yeah, I think I used to take the bottle basically from Mike and Corey and have it for myself, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm we all grew up, hit 17, 18, and kind of went our own separate ways. All of us, went through the military and, ended up in different areas. But, we've all been friends ever since, the sharing of the bottles and all of that stuff. We lost, touch for a little while, but, the internet has been a great thing for us, and, the cell phones and, Ohio State football, as Zach said. But I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is where I've been for the past probably 10 years, roughly.
Man, has it been that long?
It's been about 10 years.
Time goes fast.
Yeah.
Hey Tim, real quick, tell us about your profession, man. What do you do?
I am a fitness trainer and former physical therapist. So a lot of what I do now is a lot of chronic pain management, a lot of fitness for, health purposes. If you want to lose weight and that kind of thing, I can help with that kind of thing. But mostly, what I enjoy the most is the orthopedic side, the joint and muscle aches and pains, the movement kind of thing. That's what I like.
We got plenty of that. Of that.
All right. Well, thank you, man. And welcome.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Ed.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I'm glad to be here with y'all. My name is Ed Taylor. I live down here in Pickerington, which is a little suburb of the Columbus, Ohio. OH. So I am the aircraft maintenance group chief for the 121st Air Refueling Wing. Been in 32 January, be 32 years. I am the chief master sergeant. Um, we all grew up together. Me and Corey, blood brothers, but we're missing a brother. Mr. Ken Pryor, KP, is missing
KP.
from our group
AP.
tonight. But the five of us, I can't remember a time not knowing any one of the five of these cats. So that's how long we've known each other.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right about that.
And here we
And,
are,
and it's a
what,
blessing.
50 years later?
Right.
Yeah.
At,
Yeah.
at
50,
minimum.
years
At
later.
minimum.
52.
What
Yeah.
Daniel Lindsay said, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Dan?
Hey,
What's
what's
going
up,
on,
Dan?
Dan?
What it do,
Yeah.
baby?" Well, thanks, fellas, for joining our show, man. You guys know we just started this YouTube channel. What, Mike? 7 months ago now, back in February.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's been a minute.
We've been doing this for a while, talking about police incidents that have occurred over the over the years or over the last few months, and just breaking them down. And so Mike and I decided to do a roundtable discussion, and Mike brought up a very good point. What better just to get cats that we grew up with, and our vast backgrounds. And we've all been in the military. We never used our skin color as an excuse of why we could not succeed in life. I think we've all achieved thus far what we've wanted to achieve. I know for myself,
Almost.
I have close to it, right?
But almost.
Almost.
Right.
I'm not done yet. I got something else
Right.
in the works too.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hey,
got another check in the box I'm getting ready to do.
hey, we should always have a box we getting ready to check.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
I hear
right.
you.
Absolutely.
I hear you on that.
So, the first thing I want to talk about, and I've gotten a few phone calls about it yesterday. And of course, everybody in America knows about it, and it has to do with the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse yesterday. A lot of people don't agree with it.
Some
I
people do, some people don't.
Right, but I must say, when I first saw the video, I knew right away it was self-defense. My personal opinion, based on my experience, I don't even know why it went to trial. It should not have went to trial. But everybody doesn't see it that way, and that's what we're going to talk about. And that's why I'm glad we did that video. Zach, thanks again for referring us to that video we did on our show this past Thursday, or why you can't always rush to judgment on things. We have to let things play out in court. Now, my biggest thing with it is, Tim, why are Black people so mad about this?
I think at this point, and I think it's a combination of everything that's going on in our society right now. You know, Black folks feel like they're always getting the short end of the stick. Everything is against them. One of the conversations that I've had with some people is, if that would have been a Black guy who had done what Kyle had done, he would have been thrown up under the jail. And a lot of times in our experience, that's kind of what it has been. But at the same time, in our experiences, it's always been the Black guy who's been the victim. You see what I mean? So it's like we're either the ones that's going to jail, or we're the ones that's end up as the victim, of this, homicide, murder, whatever you want to call it. So it's always, someone from the Black community who is always the one that it loses out.
Gotcha. Ed, what's your take?
So why Black folks so upset about it?
Yeah.
I agree with what Tim said, right? So I saw a meme earlier today, and it was a cartoonist, and it was a depiction of Kyle Rittenhouse with his AR walking towards the cops with his hands up, and it was two cops and then there was a black man turned turned away, running away from the cops, and the two cops were shooting the black man, and Kyle Rittenhouse was running towards them with an AR in front of him, like that. I think that's our mindset is that we tend to, like Tim said, get the shorter end of the stick, right? Because it seems like in some instances, and not every instance, but in some instances, we don't get the benefit of the doubt, right? We are always the victim or the one that ends up getting shot, or in this case, say if we hadn't have got shot, or if Kyle hadn't have been black, happened to have been black, and got to court, would the jury of his peers gave him a not guilty verdict on all four of those counts? That is, I think, a legitimate question. Although I agree with you, Corey, is that I didn't see it immediately when I saw the video, but I did feel that um, after doing my own personal research, it was in self-defense. But at the same time, I can't help but think that had that young man had a different skin tone, would there be a different result? And unfortunately, we have enough data that shows that that is correct,
Well,
or that it's
You
a
know,
strong
it's
possibility.
funny. Um, for me, I try to look at every incident individually, independent of
Yeah.
the next. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying?
you have
Yep.
to.
Um,
You do.
I know what you mean when you say, I understand the when you have black folks that say, well, if he was black, it wouldn't have happened that way. You see what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
it makes you wonder. In
Yep.
some cases, I think that's true, but in other cases, I don't think that's true. You know,
Right.
but when it comes to convicting someone of a crime, historically, we most definitely can say, back in the day, uh, or not back in the day. I mean, I'm not going to say racism doesn't exist and there's no incidents in the criminal justice system where race doesn't have a factor. I'm not going to say that. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But we can't convict someone based on the premise that, well, if he was black, he would have been convicted. You see
I
what I'm
agree.
saying? You
I
can't just
agree.
say, okay, Kyle Rittenhouse, you guilty because if you was black, you'd be guilty. So we're gonna
I
convict you.
agree.
You see what I'm
Right.
I
saying?
agree.
So that's
Right.
why
I agree.
you gotta definitely look at, for me anyway,
Yeah.
especially when
Right.
it comes to a legal matter or police response on something. I'm gonna look at it individually and check out. I need to look at the details and see for myself. Now that
Yeah.
because I'm from a law enforcement background, obviously, I can have a different insight on why that officer would have done what they did or didn't do. You know what I'm saying? I might have some inside information to better understand
Hmm.
what the outcome and why the outcome took place. Now, in this
Yeah.
Rittenhouse thing, I agree. I think it was self-defense after looking at the
Right.
video and everything. And I think a lot of people, they get their emotions caught up in it, and understandably so. I understand why they get their emotions caught up in it. Don't get me wrong, but you when it comes to deciding whether someone is guilty of a crime or not, you got to put emotions aside and look at the elements of a crime. Did they meet those elements or not?
Right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I agree.
And
Right.
I
those,
agree. And I think sometimes we the black community, we get we get we don't take the time to learn and read and discern for ourselves.
there
I
you
think
go.
some of us, not all of us, and the four or five of us, to include Ken, um, are the prime example that if you take your time to learn and educate yourself about whatever it is, you can have a different thought pattern about it, or a different thought about it. And I think we allow the certain organizations to get our blood boiling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To get us all roughed around, because I'm not a big fan of mass news media. If I can help it, I don't look at those other cable news programs because I think they're all slanted, they're all jaded. Um, to be quite honest, the majority of my news I get from the BBC or Al Jazeera, or this place out of India. They talk about what's happening in America without a political slant. So therefore, I can get a different thought on it without being slanted. I just most of the times I feel anyway get just the facts, and that's all I need because I'm smart
Right.
enough to figure it out for myself.
And that's the whole point of the show, Ed and fellas, is that we want people to do their homework and look more into it instead of, like Mike said, operate off of pure emotions, right?
Hmm.
Just also too on Friday, and then let me ask you guys if y'all heard about this on Friday. The same day, yesterday, the same day Rittenhouse was acquitted. Did you know another black man was acquitted in the court of law for second degree murder? He was acquitted. And the police raided his house. He shot back at police, allegedly killed his girlfriend. And that's the report wasn't really uh, detailed, but he was acquitted on all of those charges.
Right.
But see, you didn't
Good to
hear
hear
about
that.
that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it is happening. But see, and that's where I agree with you on that point, Ed, is that
Media.
media is not what that if that came out, that would squash everything that they were trying to push.
Some of
And
it.
Yeah,
Some
that
of it. Yeah, I'm not sure
Some
I
of
I
it.
think
agree
it's
with.
on a bigger scale
Go ahead.
than,
Yep.
just that one case though.
Mhm.
Because
I see
my
what you're saying,
point
Tim.
being is that it happens more often than we think it doesn't. That blacks aren't acquitted for cases. You're not
well,
going to hear about them because they don't want you to know the truth and want to keep a certain narrative going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're having here, because this story, actually, the case happened actually 2 years ago. He just went to trial over the last few weeks and was acquitted over those things. So it is happening. But my point is, I just want us to be able to, before we go and rush to judgment, like the video we had yesterday. And what's really crazy, because our mother, Ed, was the same way. She's like, that was wrong. But then once she saw the second part of that video of what led up to the police involvement,
You
her
talking about the
mindset changed.
Walmart case that we
Yeah.
talked about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Her mindset changed. Oh, yeah. And she said, oh, I would have called the police on him too.
Yeah. Well,
What was
So
you getting
there
ready
was
to say, Tim?
I was
go ahead.
just gonna say, I think on a bigger scale, and we got to look at the way a lot of people look at it is, from a massive standpoint. We might win a case here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, we do have to acknowledge, that there's still a ton of racism that exists.
absolutely.
And a lot of times when these cases do happen, like I said initially, blacks do not come out on, the winning side.
Hmm.
You got Trayvon Martin, you got Ahmaud Arbery, his case is still going, and it's kind of like you said before, Corey, is that's one of those cases that, probably shouldn't even be in trial, you know. Um, so I just think that there's still, a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Yeah, the media might push this, they might push that, for their own agenda. But when it comes to a larger scale of people and, the system and, how blacks are treated in America, I think that's how we kind of have to look at it. We might win a case here or there, but when it matters most, as far as a people is concerned, uh, I think it's a little bit different.
So let me throw this out at you, right? So because of the slant, um, that the cable news networks throw out there. Now, really, don't even have to be cable news networks, because all of them are affiliated, right? Your local CBS, NBC, or whatever is affiliated in some way, shape, or form to um, one of the six, big conglomerations of media. do we get the thought or have the thought that because of what we see every day, um, and these jurors, take that with them, right? The judge, or I'm sorry, not the judge, but the prosecutor and the defense attorney are going to sit there and they're going to ask the questions of the potential jurors certain questions about biases, what they've heard, what they believe in, as far as any particular case that they're going to be a part. But you
Mhm.
can't sit we can't sit here and think, to Tim's point, that all of this, all of the things, all of the stuff we see in the news every day doesn't give us doesn't, or gives us information that makes us form an opinion and a belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once we believe that thought, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but once we form it as a belief, that thought becomes a belief. We take that everywhere. So then when we become a
Right.
juror,
Right.
that belief still goes with us, into that trial. And when you're trying to discern, and I don't know if you guys sat on a jury. I got to sit on one time, get on a jury, and it was a terrible case, but I'll never forget it. Um, but everybody in there brought their own opinion when we were deliberating, brought their own opinion about what they've experienced in life to, weigh judgment on that defendant.
On that
So I
case.
think in
Mhm.
that particular case, so I think that you know it's almost like it's um, we're not they nurtured the thought. Racism does exist. Is it as bad as some say? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't experience that, right? I'm not going to
Right.
ever say that racism for Tim or Corey or Mike or anybody is good or bad simply based on what my life experience is. But I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the media and what we see every day gives us thoughts, and those thoughts become beliefs. And when those beliefs are put to the test, they're always going to prevail in our thoughts. So no matter if we're
Right.
And
sitting on
let me
in a court or we're having a discussion like this, those beliefs are going to come up.
and with
Yeah,
that
go ahead, Tim.
point, I think part of that is where we're running into so many problems right now with that critical race theory.
Hmm.
Where they basically, you know, some people want to talk about, how blacks have been treated or how blacks contributed to the country, and things like that. But then you also have some that just want to basically sweep it up under the rug as if, things didn't happen or as if things didn't exist. And the unfortunate side of that is that, you only get one side of the story when you hold out, some of this information, what really happened in history,
Yeah.
so when people do form their thoughts, a lot of people, if you sweep that critical race theory idea up under the rug, you know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know I've never been taught anything about, slavery and, racism and things like that. So what will end up happening is, it's going to be the the one way certain groups of people, the outcome will always come out the way one group of people want it to come out.
I see what you're saying. I'm glad you brought up critical race theory. I haven't really done a lot of research on critical race theory, but I do. I think I have a pretty good gist of what it is. Um, I think it's a catch-22, my opinion, with critical race theory. On one hand, I agree with you. We need to teach the truth of what happened, whether
Right.
that's ugly or pretty. It
Yes.
is what it is. It happened. This is why some folks may have this perception or viewpoint in life, and this is why others may have something different. I think it's important to teach the truth. However, the catch-22 part of that is I also understand that you might be alienating a group of people that you're teaching and making them feel bad about themselves, like, wow, okay, well, I'm messed up now too. It's a catch
Right.
22. Now
Yep.
Hmm.
some black folks would argue, well, that's okay. Okay, they should feel that way because their ancestors did this, that, and the other. It's time for us to not feel that way. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Some black folks don't
Right.
feel that way. But you know what? If we're really going to look forward in our lives and figure out what's better, we gotta stop looking at it as a white and black issue in some respects, not all,
Mhm.
but in some respects.
I think part of it
I
though
think
is that people got to understand, kind of like we were saying, is people got to understand why people think the way that they do. You know, if you don't get educated on what blacks have gone through historically, or what, you know, Jewish people have gone through, or what, you know, any group, certain, the Indian, you know, Native Americans, you know, if you don't understand what they've gone through, you won't understand why they think the way that they do.
we got
Agreed.
two comments here.
Zach make a good comment too.
And put on the screen here. One from Anthony Brown. It's actually a question I believe is going to be directed to you, Ed. It's a T. Taylor. Is what you're saying the definition of propaganda, and referencing to what your last comment was?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, and I think that might have been the word I was looking for. And maybe not, well, let me take it back. Maybe not quite propaganda, um, but I think it's a narrative. I think it's a thought pattern, and I think it's um, the opinions that are allowed versus over others. So other personalities have their opinions heard, while um, some other opinions that would give you a different thought, um, which subsequently would lead to a different belief, aren't being heard. Similar to um, critical race theory, and I'm very glad you brought that up, Tim, because I see, me personally, I see both sides of it. Um, we can never forget what we've gone through, but the folks that are here today should not have to pay for that. They should pay for what they do, not for what someone else did. Um,
That's a great
that's
way
just
to put that, Ed.
Let me.
that's just my personal way to think about it. Because in in my career, in my 32 years, I'm in a career in aviation where there are hardly any black folks, right? And for a great deal of time, um, well, for most of my career, I've been one of a couple or just the only one. So when I look at my career and the stripes that are on my sleeve, I believe that I've earned them. But the folks that gave it to me, that allowed me the chance to earn it, did not look like me. And that's the only thing I've ever wanted, was just give me the opportunity to prove myself. So
Mhm.
I can't look at the folks that have given me the opportunities to prove myself, and and view that I was worthy of a promotion, and say, just because you don't look like me, um, you need to feel bad for or I need you to make you feel bad for what your ancestors did. And Tim, you brought up the Native Americans. Man, I just had done some reading over the summer. I mean, the Native Americans should be standing on everybody's desk, jumping up and down and say, "Take care of us," for the
Yeah.
atrocities that the colonists did, and really have done up until the 1990s, right? And even in even some parts of the day. So, um, it's, and I know I'm saying a lot, um, but it's a little bit more than just that theory. And while it may be well intentioned, the old adage, the road to hell was paved with good intention. I think it's well intentioned, but we are going about it as we always do in America. We're going about it the wrong way.
And so
Go ahead. Corey.
let me just read Zach's comment here, and I agree with him. He said, if we would stop erasing history, then it would be normal curriculum, like when he went to school and the way he grew up. And Zach is from Ohio as well. Someone never will be resolved due to politics, but a lot can be amended, more like than different. And I'll say this about critical race theory. I don't think we need to erase history. We need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly with history, and it ought to be taught just like that. And nobody should be made feel bad because what happened.
Right.
You know,
But see,
hold on, let me just say this because
go
you
ahead,
know,
go ahead.
y'all know my kids are all biracial, right? How does that make them feel when they go to school and they're told that whites need to feel bad, or you're less than human now because of what your ancestors did? But well, how am I supposed to feel? I'm but my dad's black, right? And kids are biracial, so I don't. No, just tell it as is, and we can accept that.
Right.
We can
Right.
accept it because the only way we get past this is to learn from it, and so that we don't repeat it again.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
taking down statues and changing names of buildings doesn't erase racism. That doesn't solve the problem. We need love back in our hearts. We need compassion back in our hearts when we're talking to people. And again, that starts at home. That starts with us, how we
Yep.
raise
Yep.
our children
Raise our kids.
to
But
love somebody, not to be judgmental. Because then when you don't do that, and then when you run into the police, and like I think Tim has said before, we can't make uh, other people's reality our reality. So
Yep.
when you get stopped by the police, if Tim and Ed, y'all had a very bad experience, and you badmouth police, whatever, I don't like them, blah blah blah. What's that do to my mindset?
Right.
Right. And so when I get pulled over, I'm going to assume every officer is just like what you two had, and that's not always the case.
Right.
Me and Mike are never saying that there's no racism in policing. Sure, there are, but is it to the scope of what everybody wants you to believe it is? No, I don't. And I can always speak on my office that I worked out of. There was only a handful of us in that office,
I
but
think the better question. I'm sorry to cut you off, Corey.
go ahead,
But
go ahead.
the better question is the better point is this racism in policing. I say that because we'd be kind of silly to say we know every police officer and ain't nobody racist. That's unrealistic. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? But is there racism in policing to the point where every black person needs to be afraid when they see those flashing lights behind them?
No.
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 Right.
That's the only part that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with um people saying there's racism in policing. We know that there's we don't know in each individual officer. Every individual officer has their own perceptions. They have their own life experiences dealing with different cultures of people or not dealing with different cultures of people. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I can't speak to that and say, oh, there's no way he or she could be racist. You see what I'm saying? It's just that we want to make sure that people understand that when you see those flashing lights behind you, you ain't got to be afraid for your life.
Right.
Okay.
No.
That's unrealistic. No matter how much the media pushes that out there, okay, that's unrealistic for a black person to see those flashing lights behind there and say, I got to fear for my life every time I get pulled over.
Well, and think about the number of people a police officer encounters on a daily basis,
Yeah.
right? And I can tell you on the shift, I probably stop 50 to 100 people on one shift, right? And out of those, depending on what city I'm
That's a lot
working
of
in,
stops, Corey.
bro, we down there getting it, bro. But you're talking about a lot. That's just not just all traffic. That's motorist assist. That's a multitude of things that we always call Mike. Call for services that you go on.
Sure.
Actually, I should say outside of calls or service. These are things that I actively, as a police officer, proactively get engaged in. And making that contact. So police officer, can come into contact with a lot of people, and the majority of them, depending on the side of town they work with, majority of people they're going to encounter are probably going to be black. Depending, me is variety. If I worked in Portsmouth, which is a predominantly black city, yeah, then majority of people I'm gonna stop that day are going to be black. The most people I'm gonna arrest that day are white. Now, if I go to another city, I'm in Chesapeake, it's predominantly white.
Now I know we all over the map here. Let me get back a little bit to critical race theory, and this is a question I have for you guys.
All right, go ahead.
So we understand that's the dilemma. I think we pointed out the dilemma of critical race theory, and that's balancing uh, the uh, the feelings on both sides of that spectrum. You know what I'm saying? We don't want one group to feel like they're being attacked. We don't want the other group to feel like they're being attacked.
Right.
So the question I have is, I do agree that we should teach everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But how do you do that without tipping the
scale
one
too
way or
much.
the other? That's the challenge with critical race theory to me.
You know, I think kind of Corey kind of said it a little bit earlier, where there needs to be more love, more compassion, more empathy, you know, and you can't have those unless you understand what a certain group of people have gone through.
Okay.
You know, so pulling that from the schools and pushing to keep, you know, information about, you know, this critical race theory stuff, you know, out of the schools, I think is a bad thing. You know, because, you know, I went to a school that was predominantly white, and Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. That was it. That was our contributions to America.
Yeah.
So, you know, but on the other side, I could list, you know, for about a week, you know, all the names that I've heard, you know, and all the battles that were won, you know, in developing America, you know. So, you know, we get once again, like I was saying before, blacks feel like they get the short end of the stick for everything. They don't get acknowledged for their contributions, you know, and it's not like, you know, blacks want, you know, they just want to be acknowledged. They want to be a part of the system. And, you know, I don't want to get into politics, but I think, you know, when Obama when he was voted in, blacks kind of felt this, okay, you know, we're included now, you know,
Until
to
he
some
didn't do shit
extent.
for us.
And, you know, say what now?
I said until he didn't do shit for us.
Well, right. But, you know, just for him to be voted in was a huge step. You know, we never thought we'd ever see that day happen.
You're right, Tim. You're absolutely right.
No matter how you feel about Obama, though, one thing I think we all can acknowledge is how significant that was that he was elected president for many reasons. You know what I'm saying?
It was huge.
And like I said, I don't want to get into politics too much, but
here's one thing I'll say about it, Mike. And President Obama's election was hugely significant. I would have never guessed in my lifetime I would see the first African American president.
He was biracial. He's not.
I got it. I got it.
But even just a person of color, you know, of color.
But on the surface, he looked like the four of us, the five of us. So on the surface, all right. With that said, to your point, Tim, or to your comment about being a part of the system, that's where, in my 52 years now, I'm believing that we need to have our own system, right? We have to stop depending on other folks to self-actualize ourselves, right? The only person I should give a shit about who cares anything about me is the person that I see in the mirror, right? I shouldn't have to worry about somebody else acknowledging my existence for me to feel like I'm something or somebody.
Right.
That is something that I think critical race theory, leaving that term aside, something of that sort that we black folks need to start instilling in our kids, their own self-actualization, that not looking for approval from anybody but yourself, your self-love, your self-empathy, your self-understanding, your self-drive and determination. And I don't give a damn who's in the White House. I don't give a damn who is your senator. If you can look in the mirror and the other person that's staring back at you, you feel 100% confident that they're doing everything they can to make themselves happy. That's all we need to be worried about, and stop worrying about the exception of other folks.
I mean, In
Oh, hold on.
theory,
Let me get these comments out.
let me throw this
Dad,
out there real quick.
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
In theory, that's correct. But at the end of the day, we can't live on this earth in our own world. You see what I
No, I'm not
mean?
saying living. I'm not
We
saying
have
living in
to
our own world.
exist. So what I'm saying is that we have to interact with everyone else in order to get through this life.
I'm with you there.
And I don't think that's
but
what Ed is saying. I think
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think what Ed means is we have to stop looking for other, as far as Black people as a whole.
Yes.
We got to stop looking for others to validate ourselves.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We are.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna just use myself personally. Personally, I grew. Y'all know how I grew up. So, I mean, I never thought less of myself. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I never allowed somebody who was racist, or when I came across racism, that never affected me to the point where I felt less of myself. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
When I came across that, I skipped by. It's okay. See you later. I'm on to the next.
Kept the
You
fuck
see what
on
I'm saying?
going. Right.
It does start with the person in the mirror. And I think what Ed is saying is sometimes it seems like Black folks, some Black, not all, it seems like some Black folks seem to depend too much on trying to convince white people what they're supposed to think of us. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't care
That's
about what. Look, you can think of me how I come across to you personally. You could think of me how I come across to you. That's fine. And however whatever you develop on that, that's your business. I know who I am. I know what I've done. I know
You
what
must
I'm
know
going
your
to do.
self-worth.
And I've never been held back on anything in my life because of racism. Racism has never been this prominent thing that I felt weighted on my shoulders.
Right.
It's been a hurdle, but we've overcome it every time.
Yeah. So Zach says all goes back to education. He says when he sat in college, in back in college, he watched Obama give his speech and he sat in awe. It was pure travesty, but it's not race. It's putting us as a whole into places we don't want to go or agree on. It's division tenfold. I love you guys tonight. Been a great show. Need to take this thing big. Thanks, man. That's what the goal is, bro. Dan, where'd he go? What did he say? Dan Lindsay says outstanding points of view on all your topics tonight. Keep up the great discussion. I hope to catch future shows. Have a great holiday and be safe, brothers. Love you more. All right, Dan, peace. Thank you for joining our show tonight.
Thanks for joining us, Dan.
You know what? And I'll just say this. This is why I do what I do. This is why I came to Mike with this show, because these are the discussions I feel we need to have. But in order to fix ourselves, it has to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you said, I agree 100%. We can't rely on other people. There's nothing I haven't set my mind to that I wanted to do that I have not done.
I don't think that's the question. It goes back to the critical race theory, to where it starts in school.
Exactly. Too. I never let any of that stop me from doing what I want to do. I never let. I never let the color of my skin be an excuse.
Right. And I agree with that. Tenfold. I think what people learn. We've been fortunate in our surroundings. You know what I mean? Our family dynamics. Our friendship, all of that stuff. But everybody is not as fortunate. And I think that's the piece that we miss, is that we assume everybody has the same experiences and backgrounds that we have. There's this great video that's out there, and he had everybody on like the goal line. And he said,
I saw that.
It's huge. That is huge. Some people finish, light years before other people do. And the ones who finish first, are looking back like, what's taking y'all so long? It goes back to that empathy, and the problem is people don't go back and reach their hand out and try and say, here, come on, let me help you. Let me
But
show
we
you.
can all, yeah, and I agree with that 100% because we are all born with a different deck of cards.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's
Exactly.
how you play.
But
It's
that's
how
our
you.
fault. That's our fault,
But it's
Tim.
how you
I mean,
play that
we have to
hand.
do a better job.
What do
It's
you
how
mean
you
by that,
play that
Ed?
hand.
What do you mean by that, Ed? That it's our
Reach,
fault.
reach. It is so. Black folks don't. We say we do, right? But black folks don't help each other like we should.
No,
I
we
mean,
don't.
we don't help each other like we should. To Tim's point, the four of us, and I think five of us, because we really missing Ken on this. We got to do this again with KP on this. Um, but the five of us, four of us, well, five. I'm gonna count Ken in. We all had a similar upbringing. We all were raised in the church. Our moms and dads were there. Um, we had this friendship that we all stuck together. We were all like minded. We all wanted to be somebody, right? We all wanted to do something. We all wanted to have this. We had this thought of being better than where we were, where we at, and we knew within our hearts that we could be better. And all of us have taken the time to reach our hands back and say, "Let me give you a hand."
Right.
And we as a community do not. We as a community don't do that as effectively, as often, if at all, right? We don't. And if we do, particularly, and I'm thinking of sorry, my perfect example, best example is LeBron James. That young man, while I don't agree with everything he says when he talks when he gets into politics, however, that young man every year gives a multitude of millions to his community. And he's put thousands of kids in school. He's put thousands of kids on a bike and gave them a better chance at
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right? And he doesn't brag about it. He doesn't go out there and
Just does
grandstand
it.
about it. He
He just
just does
does
it.
it. Yeah.
And I think we need more folks who have the availability to do that, who have the resources, who have the influence. And you might think the four of us don't have either one of those, the resources or influence, but I think we are more prepared to do it because we still live every day. We still grind every day.
Yeah.
And the opportunities to go back to some young kid who maybe doesn't have a father, who doesn't have a mother, who doesn't have that structure that we were fortunate to have, we could show them that there's a different way. We could show them that there's a better way. Um, I'll never forget. I did when I worked for General Electric back up there in Canton. I did my first motivational speech was down there at the Southeast Community Center.
I agree,
Um,
Zach.
all right, and the young man had asked me, where I work or whatever. And I said out there in Belden Village. He's like, "Where's that?" And we all know where Southeast Community Center is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Where's that?" I said, "Out there in Belden Village." He said, "Where's that?" I said, "Out, 77 North." I said, he said, "Where is that?" I said, "No, it's just 20, 25 minutes away." And the long short of it is that young man, that little kid, he was 10, 11 years old, had never been out of the neighborhood, had never gone further than the corner store, had never gone further than Cherry Street, right? From the Southeast Community Center to Cherry Street, and up the hill a little bit. That's all he knew. So that was his world, and anything he saw outside of that world was on TV, which to him was unattainable,
Yeah.
right? Which to him was in a dreamland, right? So, and I will never forget it. The impact it had on me is that some kids, they can't see further than the end of the road, right? The end of their neighborhood. And if all he saw in his neighborhood was slanging on the corner,
Hey,
was
Sabrina. I'm
running,
sorry. Hey, Sabrina. I see you.
And Sabrina's 100% right. Real quick, she's
I didn't see
100%
it.
right. She put on there crabs were a
Crabs
bunch
in
of
the
crabs
barrel.
in the barrel.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to look better than
yeah,
everybody else.
yep,
Yeah.
We're
yep.
we're competing with each other as
And we sh-
opposed
and we
to
should
helping each
and we
other.
should be right, and we should be together,
There's
right?
Well,
plenty of
and
there's
again,
plenty of food we can all eat.
we can all
We
eat.
can
And
all
see
eat.
that's the thing, man. God gives us all special gifts and talents, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we use those or how we're going to impact our communities. You don't
Yep.
have to your point, Ed, you don't have to have LeBron James pockets. right?
No.
And just like Zach
Mm-mm.
said, we just have to do it. It's
Just
the
got to
little
do it.
thing. It's the little things that we can do to
Yeah.
impact it. Then you do these little things. We get out here. What's the old saying? Each one teach one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we can do these things, you know what? We wouldn't have to. We wouldn't call it. We could call it something else other than critical race theory, because at that point it wouldn't be critical. It'd just be our history. Now we all know it. Now we can all respect one another. And like Dr. King said, I think Dr. King's vision is really gone now, because we say, his dream was what? To not judge people by the
Color
color of the
came with the
skin, but
content
the
camera.
content of the heart, right?
I
That's
don't
good.
think it's gone. I
I
think
won't
it's
say it red. I
I
say
think
it's
it's little, covered up. We can't
yeah,
see
yeah.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
this is how we
Right.
need to
It's
uncover
way
it.
covered up.
This
Right.
got some tissue paper over it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
We get that Windex out and start cleaning it up. But I think this is how we do it. Like I say, I don't have $1,000,000. So when last year happened with all the rioting and everything, it really pissed me off. I mean, I was getting upset with the way police were being portrayed. I was getting upset to seeing, why Black people, what are we doing? Why are we getting shot? You shouldn't have to get shot. I've done thousands of traffic stops, arrested hundreds of people. Your traffic stop shouldn't have to end that way. And so that frustration, and me being woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to ask the Lord, God, what is it you want me to do? What do I have to do? And laid upon my heart the calm acronym, came to Mike. Who else is better to get it with? God is great.
Mm-hmm.
God is
Yeah,
great.
and I know we
And
like to lump police contacts in with the whole racial thing sometimes, but since we did the law enforcement thing, Corey, it's like we like I like to separate that law enforcement thing from everything else sometimes, because I've always thought there are a lot of incidents where it may not have happened had this citizen been educated on what they should or shouldn't do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
correct.
Our point here for the law enforcement side of it is not to really take any political sides, not to argue someone's experience that they may have had with with a police officer. Our intent is just to teach you, well, if you are in this situation, this is what you should do to make sure you go home safely. You see what I'm saying?
Objectively. Yep.
No matter what officer you
Yep.
come across.
Yeah.
You can come
Yeah.
across a bad officer, good officer, whatever it is. Our
Yep.
intent is to give you that information that you need at that moment, so that okay, well, I definitely don't want to do that, because that's going to change the situation.
Yeah.
We can
Well,
tell you that. And that's the thing about it. This has been
Well,
great, fellas.
Yeah. for sure.
I truly think real quick.
It's unfortunate we couldn't get KP on here, but we're gonna have to definitely do this again. I know we're running out of time, Corey. But
nah, man, we can go a little longer if you need to. I mean,
okay, this is excellent to have.
Y'all got to go on. But real quick, Mike, I need to go ahead and let everybody, hey, take your time, go ahead and smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this out, because this is what it's all about, to have that conversation. Not only talking about policing in our neighborhoods, but issues that go on in our neighborhood, what we can do to make our communities better. And like we just said, it's the little things. You don't have to have deep pockets to make an impact in your community. Just having a discussion, get your neighbors together again, and that's one thing we don't do. That's one thing I do miss, fellas, is how close we used to be to our neighbors. Like, we knew everybody on our street, like everybody.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you going home, hey, tell your mom and dad, would say hi, oh, you them Taylor boy, oh, I'm your granddad Deacon Taylor. We don't have that anymore, and I think we need to get that back in our communities, right?
I hear you, but I'm not sure we can get that back, and I'll tell you why. Because times are different. People are working a lot more. People are out of the house a lot more.
Yep.
Some people leave the house at 5 a.m. and don't come back until 9 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying?
That don't mean you can't. You can't. I mean, I'm not saying you got to roll down to somebody's house or whatever and do, but when you driving through the neighborhood, like when I drive through the neighborhood or something like that, I see one of my neighbors out there, he cutting his grass, he got good looking grass. So he put, hey man, I like the grass, what you do? And you start a conversation. You know, I'm on my way home, right? I don't, I think that's how we get our, then you're more willing to, hey man, you see some little knucklehead kid out here getting ready to do something stupid, you're more apt to know who that little boy is in that neighborhood, and you can stop them from doing something stupid. Hey boy, hey Timmy, come over here. I know your mom. No, don't have me go calling. You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, these are things that I would like to see that we get back to. I mean,
Tone,
I was pulled over on Mahoney Road one day, this years ago, and Grandma and Papa was still alive. I was pulled over on Mahoney Road. I was sitting in the cruiser because I got a speeding ticket, and it was no trouble. I was just getting my speeding ticket, and before I got home, somebody had called Grandma, and Grandma called Mom, and I told them. And I'm sitting on Mahoney Road. You know, and traffic is going. Y'all remember how Mahoney Road? Traffic's going all over. But somebody recognized me sitting there, and you know, and before I got home, you know, Mom and Dad, or at least Mom did, I think, at the time, you know, knew that I was sitting in a police car. Right. You know, we do miss that, right? Because then we don't look out for each other. Right. We don't care enough. Going back to Timmy's part, I mean, all of us had said it in one time or another. The empathy, the caring, the compassion, the give a shit, right? And you can't teach give a shit. It's something that's inside of you. But just caring enough about people to say, hey, stop that, no, don't, or hey, here you go, here's a hand. And even if you ain't got a hand, give them the time, give them 5 minutes, give them 10 minutes. If they just, you know, need somebody to talk to, because you never know with the way suicides are going on these days, and you know, you don't know whose life you can save just by giving them 5 minutes of your time and listening.
Right.
You know,
just a simple hello.
Right. There's a lot going on, but I mean, to your point, that community is not there, and it doesn't matter the color.
No,
it doesn't.
No, absolutely not.
It doesn't matter the color of your skin. The community is not there. You know, we have these social communities, but I think that you know, the internet and stuff, while it was good, man, it really distances us. Right. To your point, Mike, it's not the same. It's a different time. I mean, how many people, you know, because of COVID last year attended church, you know, via Zoom or online, right? You know, then you can't get there and Deacon Will, we can't watch Deacon Williams run up and down the aisle on Zoom, right? He might be running up and down his hallway, right? I mean, his pussies, right? He might be talking, he be running up in his hallway, but we don't see him run up and down the church. We don't get that feeling, that emotion, that love and concern. And to your point, Corey, we absolutely do have to have a conversation with people so that you can at least share your experience and let them know your experience. And it doesn't have to be critical. It can just be conversational. And I think, you know, this cancel culture and all this other stuff we got going on has really muddied the waters when it boils down to another man or another woman sitting down with another man, another woman, and just sharing their experience.
And Zachary said it best. I mean, education is the key.
You
know, and it doesn't even, you know, whether you look at it, you know, from a formal standpoint, from a high school diploma to a college degree or whatever, to education, to, you know, let me tell you who I am. You know, I'm educating you just by telling you who I am, kind of giving you an experience or an idea of, you know, what my beliefs are. You know, I told you physical therapy, fitness training. So automatically, okay, he's big on health.
Right.
And that's education because you didn't know that.
Right.
And that's the key, is helping people know things that they don't know. And when you take that education away, when you take community away, you don't have education. And when you don't have education, you don't have community.
Well said, Tim. Well said.
Well said.
I agree 100%, man. So, all right. Hey, listen, go ahead again, hit that like button, share this out far and wide. If you like an opportunity to join Mike and I on a round table, hit us up. email us, let us know. We'll put out some dates. We won't be on next week because Thanksgiving around the corner. So before I
Get my
forget,
grub on.
yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Fellas, we thank you for joining our show tonight, man. I mean, it was very, very informative. I loved it. Zach, Anthony, Sabrina, Saul. He was up my old training that I trained as a trooper. Thank you for joining our show tonight.
Hey, real
Again,
quick, I can't. I want to be sure, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, to tell you and Mike that how proud I am of you brothers doing this, of you getting out there, taking the leap of faith, of doing something, and this is one of those ways where we, have that conversation, and then we also give back,
Yep.
right? So I'm very proud of y'all. I love y'all. I'm proud of you, Tim. I'm proud of all of us, and I tell my kids about us. I brag about us, because the five of us, through thick and thin, through differences of opinion, have got this love, and I'm proud of all of us for what we have become, and I can't wait to see where we finish.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Tim, you
that's
got
what
any
it's all
final
about.
thoughts?
Go ahead, yeah, Tim.
No, I just think it was great. You know, we got to do this again. We got to find ways to, I don't know if you guys remember that group called Young Life. But there's a chapter I believe down here that I started looking into not too long ago to try to become
Young
a
Life.
part of.
Hmm.
It was
I
one of
remember.
those things that was there for us
Hmm.
through the church.
Hmm.
I think it's a
Yeah,
great
yeah, yeah,
program. I
And the
yeah,
think
Boy
it's a great
Scouts.
kind of program. What's that?
yeah.
I said,
And
and
the
the Boy
Boy Scouts.
Scouts.
Right, and the Boy Scouts. Right.
Hey,
And
I was in the Boy Scouts. I like that. Hey, there's a
I
lot of
did
stuff I
too.
was able to
But
do in the
hey,
Boy Scouts, and
y'all
I was.
y'all remember going in the bottom of the in the basement of the house doing our meetings?
yep, yep, yep.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
Yes,
that was all
indeed.
good stuff.
Hey,
That was
man.
all
That
good
was,
stuff.
man.
Love you, Meg. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All
Real
right,
See
quick,
y'all.
y'all.
real quick before we go, to our viewers out there, I know it's a lot of stuff in the media, but try to find your joy. Okay, don't let the
Yeah.
media make you
Yep.
feel in a depressed state because all you see is negative things. Find
Yeah.
your joy and
Yeah.
live your life and be proud of yourself and do what you need to do. Thank you guys for coming on to our show. I
Absolutely.
value our friendship unbelievably.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned something about you like to brag about our friendship, and that's I think that's rare. I don't think too many
Mhm.
people can brag about the core friends that they have. We are
Yeah.
all
Yep.
Yeah.
decent men. We've all been
Yep.
through our lives, differences of opinion or same opinions, whatever it is, and we've
And we've all
always
served.
be away for 10 years and come back
Hmm.
and connect like it was yesterday. You
Yeah.
see what I'm
Yeah,
Yep.
saying? And
yeah.
I
Yep.
appreciate that. I
And
think a
you know
friendship
what?
like that is important.
Real quick, before we even go, let's spend 5 minutes and talk about value of friendship and what that means, that brotherhood. Because I like you guys, I brag to my kids too about our brotherhood, our friends, and I always tell them, I was like, look, man, you need to find you some friends like that.
You
You
need
know,
some
Hmm.
Eddies, some Corys, some
yeah,
Mikes, some
Yeah.
Kens.
Ken,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
And a Timmy.
because at the end of the day, and like I tell them, I said, I can give these guys $1,000 and not worry about say just hold this for me, right?
Hmm.
And come back 20 years and my
Well,
money
you
is there.
said hold it for you.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think too that having that bondage makes you a better person. And
It
Absolutely.
and,
does.
and, and we each kind of pushed each other in our own ways without really pushing,
Yeah.
if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
You know,
Like
Yep.
one
we always inspired each other. Like, okay, he doing this, so I need to go ahead and get myself together. I ain't gonna let these mugs out. You know what I mean? We've
yeah,
always
Yeah.
yeah,
challenged one another.
I remember
Yep.
when we were just little and we were talking about what we all wanted to be when we grew up. We
Yeah.
we all had something that was what probably a lot of kids today would feel is unattainable. And but it was basic stuff to us. We all
yeah,
knew we
Right.
wanted to get, we wanted to do something with ourselves. We knew we wanted to be A, B, C, or D, or whatever that
Hmm.
was. You see what I'm saying? We all from the same place, and we influenced each other in such a positive way that that's what kept us in line. I think along with our parents, along with our family,
that's Tim.
our environment.
When I think about our friendship, I think of 3 words: no judgment. No judgment. You can be yourself, like it or hate it, or but that's Corey. I love my boy. So, I get what he's saying. I may disagree, but I'm not gonna judge him. And then the other thing is support. Corey can call me at 3:00 in the morning, tell me he's on 400 Georgia 400 right now with a broken, wheel or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll at least call him an Uber.
That Tim will do. Like,
I ain't gonna be out of bed, but I'll call you for help. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna help over here, man.
And then I'm gonna go right back to bed. Hope you be all right.
Right.
Call me in the morning. Let me know you got home.
Right.
Oh man, fella.
But no, absolutely. I'm going to get him. I'm going to help him out or whatever. But that's it. No judgment. And support.
I agree.
And that's a good question for our audience tonight. Tell us about your friends, your best friends, and build that relationship with them. If it's been several years that you've gone and not made contact with them, reach out to them, man. I mean, especially in today's time, we need somebody, because I can tell you what, man, we've all gone through things in our life, and yet we are still going through things in our life.
And we always will.
And we need each other. I'm gonna tell you this, without getting too personal, but we've all been through some very tough times in our lives. And I tell you, if it wasn't for my boys here, I don't know if I could have made it through some of the things I went through.
Yeah, right. Even though me and Ed drove from Ohio to Virginia, drove around the Washington Monument like 3 times.
Twice.
Y'all, we ain't gonna talk about
that. Let me tell this. Look, I'm sitting here. These cats are supposed to come down and see me, right? Zach, this is crazy. These cats are supposed to come down and see me, right? From Canton, Ohio to where I live in Virginia was exactly 9-hour drive. And we ain't had cell phone. We had beepers, right? Beepers, like, yo, where are these mugs at? So they finally get to my spot, and Tim's like, it took us around. We went around the DC monument like 5 times. Tim said he woke up. He said, "Hey, is that the monument again? Then we just go past that."
Oh man,
too much.
And this was before GPS.
Hey, we even took a nap in the car. We pulled off the side of the road, went to sleep.
I'm sitting here, where these mugs at, y'all? I'm like, and we ain't had cell phones, so I'm like, I had all these plans set up. We gonna go do this. They get there, man. I'm ready to go to bed. They turned a 9-hour trip into 18 hours.
Yep.
Oh my gosh,
man. So I mean, that's that. Hey, you know what? And that's what it's all about, man. All those memories, right?
Yeah. So, the benefit of a strong core, friendship core is important, I think, in every man's life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got
for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. And so, we'll go ahead and wrap it up now, because we can talk for hours. But thank y'all for joining the show tonight. If you just joined us, man, rewind this bad boy and watch it again. Guaranteed you're gonna get something out of it, which we hope you do. So, fellas, thank you all.
Okay,
don't log out yet, fellas. We'll continue this conversation afterwards, real quick. But everybody else, we'll be back. Shoot, let me look at the calendar real quick. We'll be back on the 2nd of December with another show. All right. And like I said, we'll put out the dates on that show on the 2nd of when we're going to do another roundtable. And if you'd like to join us on that roundtable, hit us up with the email, and we'll get you on the show. All right. Without that,
definitely gonna get KP on the show next time too.
yeah, definitely gotta get KP on there. So hit us up at brothersinlaw21@gmail.com. That's brothersinlaw21@gmail.com. Thank y'all. We love y'all, and we'll see you on December 2nd with another show. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.